I'm a professional, so I'm just learning from all of you.
That's
so,
fair.
Professional idiots, that's for sure.
So we're now live, and I know that the first question on everyone's lips is, who are these people? So let's start off with Michael. Would you like to start us off with an introduction, a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. My name is Michael Head. I am the author of the Threads of Fate series. I'm also I'm author with Mountain Dale Press. I'm writing a series with Dakota Kraut called Year of the Sword. So expect more books out in that series soon. And I have another series that's exclusively on my Patreon at the moment called Wandering Warrior, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. That's a lot of fun. It's like if Judge Dredd were in a fantasy world. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Michael. And what about yourself, Chris?
I'm Chris, or CM Carney. I'm author of Pharaoh King, the first book in the Realms. 2 more books in that series coming out next year, and that'll be the end of that series. It's been my bread and butter, and it's been pretty amazing writing it. I'm also the author of The Quintessence, which is a progression cultivation kind of thing. My newest project is over here. It's a middle grade. Middle grade superhero Arthurian lit RPG series that has kind of been like 21 years in the making. It was supposed to originally be a cartoon when I worked for an animation company 2 decades ago, and on the cusp of getting funding, the 28 collapse happened and we lost our money. So my partner and I decided we're going to bring it to the market, and then we'll see what happens. It hopefully will be the answer to, is there any books for kids in lit RPG? Because this one is definitely filled that bill. So excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Chris. Michael, did you bring cookies for everyone?
Nope.
He's always eating.
Wow.
That's an amazing cookie. What flavor is that?
I hope that this isn't supposed to be PG-13 because you are a piece of shit, Michael. Okay? You're teasing us like this is not fucking cool, okay? Sorry, Eric. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I'm not sure I can go on anymore.
Is it the hunger?
Yes. It's the hunger. I'm Eric Egeland. I write The Good Guys and the Bad Guys and some other stuff. Yeah, that's about it.
Amazing. Jez, what about you?
You're just so subtle, you know that, Eric. You know, you should try and calm it down a little. You know, don't shout so much.
Over the top.
I'm Jez Cadgio. Hello, Kristen. I tend to cause lots of trouble basically wherever I go. I wrote Brightblade in the Underverse. I wrote The Rise of Mankind, The Age of Stone, Bronze, Iron, and Steel, I think I'm working on now, and Arise Alpha and Arise Dark Crusader. I'm generally drunk, basically, and crazy. So that's pretty much it, really. I shall pass it to my glamorous
Fantastic.
friend. Yeah.
And Jacob, what about yourself?
Oh, hey, everybody. I'm a sweetie pie. I'm a sweetie pie to Jez's drunkenness. Hey, Harmon, so happy you're here.
We'll get to his introduction. We're on you, Jacob.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not trying to balance anything.
Okay, it's first one to be eliminated is Jacob.
I'm a lit RPG author. I've written Arcade Kingdom Online was my first series. My second series was Tower Climber, and now I've just released a new series, Second Chance Swordsman, which just launched in audiobook today. So for those of you who are curious,
it's super good.
Excited. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, that's me.
Fantastic.
Say, Eric, if you're wondering if Jacob is always this cheerful and this crazy, this is him understated. This is him sober and sane. You don't want
Hey, Harmon.
Harmon, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us all about your new release yesterday and a bit more about yourself?
So, hey guys, I am the OPMC, and my name is I'm not. My name is Harmon Cooper. Yeah, someone just said you. They know how weak I am. I think my wife in the other room, she's sipping tea, might have just coughed. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? Hi, everybody. I'm Harmon Cooper, and I am currently living the life. My latest book is called The World According to Dragons. It's part of the Sagaland Chronicles, which is up here, and I'll be writing in this world a bunch. And I've written this is my 72nd book, 72, and I'm on my path to 75. And so that's the story. And I'll go over all those books later. But the real OPMC is Geneva and Kristen. There's two.
Mm-hmm.
And she contacted me, right? It's her fault I'm late. Actually, it's Amazon's fault, but we'll talk about that. She contacted me to say, hey, you should wear a hat. And I'm like, well, this is my birthday hat. And anyone who's going to 20K Vegas, which Eric is, Jacob is, yes, Chris is, yes. We're having a birthday party, Michael Chatfield and I, on November 17th at Meow Wolf. Starts at 8:30 p.m. I'll send the invites out. But Michael Chatfield and I will both be wearing these because we're the birthday boys. And that's BOI. S. There's an S. And hey, Michael, you look like Walter White. Holy shit, dude.
Can't unsee.
Compliment or an insult? Compliment.
But
I'll take that as a compliment.
That's OPMC.
But he's not cooking mess. He's actually cooking cookies and eating them very rudely in front of all of us. But anyway, I suppose we can kind of get started. What is OP? As in, like, so overpowered characters, you all write them. Do they belong only in progression fantasy? Can they belong to single works? What is it that draws you individually to OP characters? And do you think there is, like, it's not just that they're OP, that there's just that oomph? So let's get your own takes on it, and we'll start.
I blew my nose. Sorry. and I realized I didn't mute myself when I blew my nose, so it wasn't a giant fart. I'm sorry, dude. God damn it. I was like, I don't want to blow my nose, but I'll keep this. I'm sorry. My bad.
Nope. We're going to start with you, Harmon. That is your penance. So,
oh, fucking hell.
And I'm not even going to repeat the question, so you have to ad-lib what you think the question was.
Not ever.
It has something to do with OP.
So the reason, okay, all right, I have to ad-lib the question. I recently read something about, no, that's not relevant to this. The reason, what's the question again? I'm sorry. I was thinking about like this like thing about the Byzantine Empire that I wanted to share that I found really fascinating, but then I realized like it's politically troublesome right now. And so I'm like, well, I shouldn't talk about that. And so now I don't remember the question.
Wow.
So, yeah, but now I want to know.
Yeah, like, you know
what? I can tell you why.
Please.
It is pretty OP. So the reason that the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Catholic Church, the reason that there's that divide and the reason that like certain countries use Cyrillic and other ones use like the Romanized alphabet is because of this king named Vladimir, not the same one we have right now in Russia, but he was like, which religion should I be? And he sent his people out, and they went and they checked during the Dark Ages. They went and they checked Western Europe, and they were like, "This is a shithole over here." And then they went into Constantinople, and were like, "Man, the Hagia Sophia is legit. That place was like being in heaven." So that's the reason for the divide that we still have today. That this guy did in like the 900s, just like deciding like, "Hey, which one am I going to be?" Oh, theirs looks like heaven. That sounds really interesting. And that, my friends, is an OP move. That something you do over 1,000 years ago is still like the reason we have like in East, West, and Europe.
Amazing.
You just went, fuck you all.
Yeah. So anyways, I just found that really fascinating. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, man, one guy's decisions, like we're still, dealing with it. And some countries are using Cyrillic, some countries aren't. Like, anyway, that's not related to this. Sorry. Hey, it's been a crazy 36 hours.
Well, no, I think we're all better off and more enriched for having heard that. So thank you very much. And we'll go backwards to Jacob, to your interpretation of what I said that no one listened to. So what do you think is OP something, fill in the blanks?
Yeah, I think OP, like people talk about it as like a genre trope or like a trait of a character. But I think it's really, more like a mindset, and it's just about being a winner and kicking ass and even when you lose you're always being determined and moving forward and I don't know, having a positive mindset.
Well, thank you for the politically correct answer, Jacob. Jez?
OPs basically because we all like to write characters that kick the living shit out of everybody else. I think that's basically it. Because if you haven't kicked the shit out of somebody recently, you really want to. It's just one of those things, and you just sort of go, I could do with a bit of mindless violence in my life.
Cool. Eric?
I think it's part of one of the tenets of lit RPG is the progression, and there's almost no other way to do continual progression without eventually someone becoming overpowered. So I just think it's part and parcel of the genre, more or less.
Perfect. And Chris, just before we go to you, can I implore our readers and like listeners here to ask fucking questions, because I swear to God, this will just happen again. So, like, there's no questions yet, other than hats, which I don't even understand what you're talking about. Sorry, Chris, could you tell us things?
I'm sorry. It's the last day of Guildify Con. All right, we gotta go crazy. Hey,
we
also,
have to
hey,
ensure
Chris.
we're never asked back. This is what we're doing. Over to you, Chris.
I mean, for me, OP is. I kind of like Jacob's concept that it's a mindset. Out of all the people on this panel, my character's probably to date the least OP, but had the potential to be the most OP from the beginning. And I consciously didn't do that because of his psychology. He didn't want to be that Dr. Evil, I want to rule the world guy. He resisted that, which was the reason you find out later that the character who was responsible for giving him this power at the beginning gave it to him, because he was going to use it in theory responsibly. But he's also resisted it to his detriment. At this point, he is a lot less OP than he needs to be for the final battle that's coming up in the 2 books that I'm going to write, which is why I think the next book is going to be a hell of a lot of fun for my readers, because he's not only going to realize his mistake, but he's also going to be forced and kind of helped to become OP, because the character who originally gave him the reason to be OP, that is like, what the fuck are you doing? You're the god of the ether and you have no freaking ether magic. Like, he didn't do anything he was supposed to because he was trying to be a good human. And it's going to be that thing where he combined being OP with a good human. And that to me was fascinating, because often in the genre, it's just pure power. And there are people like Eric and Matt Zinnemann who do it brilliantly, in my opinion. I love the fact that they just, like, Montana is one of my top 2 favorite characters in literature. Like, he just is freaking doofus who has a heart of gold and just thumbs his way to doing the right thing. I sort of purposely kind of did the opposite, and I really hope it pays off. But to kind of wrap it up, OP is the reason that people come to this genre. They want, it's that power fantasy. But to me, I want to take what everybody has done in the genre and tweak and twist it and make it more fun, maybe.
Yeah.
Not that everybody else hasn't done fun, but just make it more fun for me, and hopefully.
That makes total sense. And Chris, I have decided as a personal goal in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to try and make you curse, because I think that would be fantastic. I like cursing, but I refrain sometimes. Excellent. We have 45 minutes. Michael, I want to skip you because you're stuffing your face.
No.
Okay. So, to answer a few of the questions, Michael is eating cookies that his wife lovingly prepared for him, which he has been stuffing his fucking face with.
Yes, I have. And I've got a nice glass of milk to go with it.
And Jez rage quit to get himself a cookie. So, rum and cookies. Is Jez drunk Santa? Oh my God, yes. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Sorry, we actually have questions now. Thank God. But we'll let Michael go first in answering his interpretation of...
Okay, so to me, when I read, I read to escape reality, right? That's why I write fantasy. That's why I read fantasy. The real world is hard enough as it is. And I don't want to read about the long and terrible, awful struggle that a character has to go through with no win. I want to win. Whenever I'm reading, I want the characters to win, because you can't help but put yourself in the character just a little bit. And so I want that win. That's why I'm reading. And so if you have an overpowered main character, that allows for the reader to connect to them and to win along with you. They're winning along with that main character. And that's why I think it's such a common, I guess, I don't know if we call it trope, but a common facet of progression fantasy is that they are building up to become overpowered, because we all struggle in our day-to-day lives enough as it is. Let our escapism fantasy be something that we enjoy.
Amazing.
Sex.
So
Who said sex?
they're OP length. Only time that's ever been a descriptor of jazz. So, sorry. So,
Hey, look, as long as I'm having fun, I don't care.
I'm
so
going
we
to go on
can,
the record and say I don't want to know one way or another if that's true.
yeah, he was already stripping in his takeover. I'm not sure if you saw, but I screenshotted everything and can give you the timestamp if you want. So, we can get rid of
First
one
time we'll
question
realize.
immediately, which is from Lavelle Jackson. So, Jacob, can you just tell us quickly what's your favorite TV show, and is it Dahmer on Netflix?
It's not Dammer. I'm not into that kind of stuff, but I was greatly inspired by the TV show Dexter, and yeah, I found
And for everyone's safety, we'll stop that one there.
Well, the evidence gets too much.
So we can go with depth or something a little bit. Okay, so how do you avoid, Jerry Spalding, how do you avoid dealing with an OPMC like many do by just introducing a higher level world where they are the small fish again? And who would like to jump in and take this? Jacob. Thank you. So,
I think, well, I think part of that is, you complete your series. I think maybe when you're introducing a higher level world, that's probably happening when the book was maybe the series was coming to an end. But then more is always good. So, but the way I try and do it is just, I have a length that I think the series is going to be, and I have sort of the progression mapped out a little bit. And so then you can have comparable characters also reaching those new stages. And so it doesn't reach like that bad point where the character's just destroying everything. Or that can happen at the very end. And then, the series is complete.
I mean, I kind of think that going on what he says is the way that I designed the realms is that the OP bad guy seems pretty OP from the beginning, but you have no clue what he can do. He hasn't done it because he hasn't needed to. And by the end of the book, he's going to need to, and then we'll see what OP really is. And I don't know what Michael's doing over there.
I'm cursing out Paul. I've invented a character that's a total jerk face ass butt just because of Paul, and it's named Paul in my books because Paul's such a jerk. Anyway,
well, could you just say "milady" as you finish that sentence, please?
Milady.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
I was just like fascinated by the. I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm saying is that offensive.
Oh no! It's never about you.
It's not you.
Trust
It's in
me.
the comments.
Well, that's
Freaking
pretty.
Paul, man.
The
Paul
comments.
trolling me.
I mean, I'm gonna go cry in the corner now. It's not about me at all.
With no cookies.
What I was saying. Yeah. OB, bad guys, cool.
Sorry. So, head, a little higher. Head, Eric. Oh. Head, Eric. Right. So, next question, I suppose. Yes. Would you like to answer that original question, or would you like me to give you a fresh question where you can listen to it?
It's up to you.
Okay. I will throw in... Okay, Josh McGriff. If your character has amazing things in its inventory that can tip the scales in their favor, how do you know when to use them? Who'd like to jump in on this one?
When you remember that they have them.
Yeah.
Spot the pouncer, spot the plotter.
Because the amount of times that we go through it, like skills as well, that you just sort of go, people say, so why didn't you use that? And you go, because
I forgot.
it would have had a really bad outcome.
I'm still waiting for Matt to use his class point, Jez. Like, you've alluded to this. Sorry. So,
Oh man.
oh God. Okay. So here's a great one from Josh McGriff. How do you balance out a great idea versus your power scaling?
I don't.
Eric hasn't said anything yet.
I'm not sure I necessarily understand that idea. I guess I think a lot of what I do in terms of coming up against overpoweredness is understanding where the limits of that power are and trying to push the books and the antagonists into areas where the main character is not actually overpowered. So if you have someone who's a great fighter, then put them into political intrigue. If you have someone who is an overpowered magic user, find a way to hamstrung using magic. And there's always, if you have somebody the main character cares about that's not overpowered, you now have to think about what's going to happen when the antagonist is going after those people. And so even if they are overpowered, you now have something to try and make that happen.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Eric nailed it. That is exactly what you do. If you have a super overpowered character, put them in a situation. Maybe it's interpersonal contact. Maybe it's relational issues. I wouldn't say no overpowered characters overpowered in every aspect, but there's got to be some way. Like in Eric's books, his main character, Montana, is not very good at politics, and he keeps getting thrust into politics. If there's something he can punch, he wins. But if it's up in the political arena, he's the one getting punched in the face. Not literally, but what's the word?
Figuratively?
Figuratively, thank you. Yeah.
Best moderator ever. So, Chris, you had something to add to that.
I mean, I think that Eric's spot on there, and Michael as well, is that the reason that Eric's series has done so well is because you can't be OP in everything unless you're just like, Superman with Charles Xavier powers. Maybe you could be. But there's always a weakness, whether it's, and to me, the best weakness is other people. Because if you're a good human being, there's somebody you care about.
Yeah.
And that makes you weak. And that's the point of being human, in my opinion. But to kind of extrapolate from that is the ability to make it look like when you're writing a book that you're whoever that villain is you're facing is the ultimate in power, and then to expose at the end of the book or the next book that there's a whole other level. And that's, I know it's not lit RPG, but that's the reason Will White's Cradle has been hugely successful, because you believe in book one that this pathetic little bronze level is the top of the game, and the next one you believe that these guys are undefeatable and there's nothing beyond that. And it's that exposure of ignorance, I guess, which is, I think, really awesome. And Eric does that a little bit with this series, because I really want to know what's going on with, that whole God tier stuff.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the comment.
I don't even know if Eric knows what's going to happen with that, and that's why it's so fascinating.
I want to jump on that accentuate a point that Chris just mentioned. So and then someone commented about like there being liabilities. So in my series Pilgrim, the 7th book is out in January, and in this series, the main character is he doesn't know it at the start. It's not really a spoiler because he's a badass, but he's the son of a mortal and then a god, right? And he's super powerful. He's a badass. But the problem is, if he draws any blood, all these portals open up and demons come out. And so he's to the point where he is like razor careful about anything, because it creates this whole fiasco for him to have to deal with. And once he finally has people that he cares for, well, then it creates an even bigger fiasco, because if he's in a fight and he gets injured enough to draw blood, then he has to deal with that. Those demons attack the people that he cares for, and it creates like almost an instant handicap to kind of like make sure he's not too powerful, because otherwise he would just go through bashing everyone. And then by the end of the book, you meet his brother, who's a full demon, who's a lot stronger than him, and his father, who's the ruler of the hell in this series. So having those kind of tiers really do help, but also having some kind of liability. And I think it's the same as what Dakota mentioned at Dragon Con about that resonated with me, because I'd heard it put that way, but he put it in a really good way, and I'm going to butcher it here. But he said something about that, like whenever you introduce a tool that's helpful, introduce a reason it's not, and a reason that it brings, like, okay, so it's like in War Priest 4, he gets this, and I'm working on it right now, he gets this charm that allows him to control people. However, it also it really corrupts his mind, and it also is making him sicker and sicker and sicker to use it, right? And so it's that kind of thing, but on a higher level, at least with this series, but a way to balance someone who's OP.
Excellent. So,
Jacob? Just to jump on Harmon and Chris's point. I think, Brandon Sanderson, he says in like his rules of magic or whatever to have like limitations. And I think that's maybe the key to dealing with OP characters. And yeah, they're, a good limitation is people, as Chris said. And it makes me think of like the key to the storytelling of Spider-Man, right? Is that, he's always going on his adventures, and then Aunt May is, dying in the hospital somewhere, or, Mary Jane needs help. And, it's always that like back and forth that I think makes it super appealing. So yeah, that was just
make a cost to the OP.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I guess then Lois Lane. Yes, exactly. Brilliant. Brilliant question came in from Kristen. Who is your favorite OP character that you have not written? And we'll start with Jez, because he's been very quiet. Don't worry, I'll repeat it for you.
Favorite OP character that I haven't written.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, you kind of caught me there, because my first thought straight away was Montana, because he just likes to beat the shit out of everything. And I like simple, I like straightforward. I don't like complications in my life. I'm married, I already have lots of complications. So I'm going to go with that.
Excellent then. While it's fresh in your head, Harmon, who is your favorite OP character that you have not written?
I guess people that know me know that I really like comic books, and there's been there's a numerous amount of comic book characters, but I really like Wolverine, and I feel like he's so OP, and and I mean, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from that. I'm even in my book Pilgrim, there's a lot of because he can heal very quickly and stuff like that, but he has the emotional tie, and of course I've never written him, but to be able to heal, to not basically be almost indestructible, unless you run into Magneto, is pretty awesome. I know now that he's become Old Man Logan and all that shit, but I'm talking about like 1990s Wolverine in the yellow suit, if y'all know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
we're all old.
With with the little black the claw marks on the side. Like, man, I wanted a shirt like that, but I would have looked so stupid walking around fucking Austin, Texas. Like, well, I may have fit in there, but anyways.
You gotta do it.
We'll go to Eric, if that's okay.
I'd probably go with Superman.
Okay.
It's classic. Yeah. He's been around so long. You've got a lot of examples of what works and what doesn't work.
What about Jacob?
I was gonna say Montana. Actually, I really like him in The Good Guys, and Montana represents like that good OP lushness of just like people's heads flying like super easily and just like great shit happening, and like it's just, I love that. But if I were gonna pick another one,
no,
that was already said already.
You only get one.
Sorry, just one.
But Montana was already.
You used it, Montana.
Oh, but
Montana.
Naruto. Can I talk about Naruto?
Okay. Go on, break the rules.
Can I talk about Dragon Ball Z?
All right, I really like Naruto.
Okay.
It's really nice.
So, Michael.
Oh, for me, I gotta say, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is freaking hilarious, and like the Deadpool character, like that anti-hero. I mean, the characters that I write are also kind of anti-hero. Like they are a little bloodthirsty murder hobos. So, that's kind of what Deadpool is. I love the movies, so definitely Deadpool.
And what about you, Chris?
I mean, I got to say, everybody what they said is yeah. I mean, what Eric said about Superman, I'm currently watching Man of Steel with my wife, who is surprisingly never seen it because she's apparently not as dorky as me. And to me, that's one of the better representations of that character because it shows the humanity of not only not wanting to be OP, but knowing the cost of it. And I think knowing the cost of being OP is integral to making it work. I mean, Montana's cracks me up every time I read them. And then going back to, again, it's not lit RPG, but Linden and Cradle is got that aw shucks every time he becomes more godlike. Like the dude is so freaking OP at this point, but he still kind of seems like, oh, I'm surprised I'm this powerful. That's appealing to me because I don't like the arrogant OP. If you have a MC in your book that's super arrogant and OP, I'm gonna check out because it just bores me. I find you obnoxious. I see too many arrogant twits who think they're OP in real life who aren't. They were just schmoes. I don't want to see that in my fiction. I mean, to Harmon's point, Wolverine was my favorite character growing up in the 80s reading comic books. I feel like the dude's just... And he suffers. That's another thing, is if he suffers.
Yeah, I feel bad. I cut off Jacob after 1, and you've had like 3.
Sorry.
So
I like, all of what they said. I didn't even come up with that.
No, it's like it's totally okay. But what I will say in this instance is that for first time, I'm going to answer this question, and I want you to take what I say with a pinch of salt. But Dick Dastardly from the Wacky Races was always ahead of his competitors, and he always stopped because his onus, like he wanted to disrupt them. If he had just continued, he would have won, but he always needed for them to lose rather than for him to win. And that was my favorite OP character. So, just sort of bring the tone right down.
Crash it.
Oh no, it's just like, if you thought this was serious at any point, well, guess what? So,
None for you.
Okay, we're going through the questions. Josh McGriff, how do you design unique monsters for your MC to fight? And let's start this off with... Were you pointing at yourself? Harmon, it felt like you were pointing at yourself? Yes. So, how do you design unique monsters for your MC to fight?
So I like to use yokai for one, and that's because in 2015, in 2014, I lived in Japan, and I was working for a publisher that I had helped start, and they had me. They wanted me to write some scary stories or something for ESL books, and I started like reading yokai ones, and I'm like, hey, this hasn't been used as much. This is kind of interesting. I could do something with this, and then I didn't until I started writing Pilgrim, basically. And so I like using yokai, and now I like using a mixture of yokai and kind of Nordic mythology. So my new book has a mixture of both. So it has like a myling, but it'll also have like a bakaneko or like a ashigaru and things like that. And so yeah, I like mixing them now. And so I try to look to mythology because otherwise, like, it's just the same kind of, the same kind of villains and things, or just people pulling from D&D a lot. And so with mythology, there's just like, if you go to yokai.com, this guy keeps a compendium of all yokai that he's researched and uncovered. And there's hundreds and hundreds of it. And some of them are so interesting. And sometimes I've even used those to build different kinds. Like to be like, oh, well, this like in my new book, they encounter one called an Ashinaga Tanaga. And it's this, it's actually two yokai, one with really long arms, one with really long legs. But I wanted it to be one guy who has really long arms and really long legs. Yokai? Yeah. Yokai.
Okay, so
what's the yokai.com? Yeah. Yeah, and this guy's awesome. He publishes books on he publishes like books on yokai that are on Kindle, and he does like all the illustrations and stuff, and it's a trip. So sometimes if I'm especially writing Pilgrim, I'll just use that and then build something from that.
I've never heard of this before, and I like it.
It's crazy, man. You're gonna find some crazy shit. And he posts new ones every week.
Does it generate names? Jez might like that. Jack, say Jax.
It actually generates like he tells you like the common name, and then if there's regional dialect names, sometimes the names have been too long. So for Pilgrim, I try to keep things that like 3 syllables, unless it's something that rhymes, like Ashinaga to Naga kind of rhymes. But I don't want like something that's super 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 long.
Brilliant.
I just call things Bob.
Yeah, 'cause you have
There's
to type
always that.
every time. Knock it down. Like, no, it's no fun.
Or you just speech to text it and then just say Ashinaga to Naga and then just, or copy paste. I do that a lot too with certain names. I'll just put in like Eric, but the character's Arik, and then later I'll go in and just copy paste it.
What about yourself, Eric?
Yeah,
I do a lot of I guess mythological passes, so looking and see what different mythologies have, and then I also try to think of what, like, if you have sort of the basic creatures from D&D or the traditional fantasy races, and what would prey on those, or what would they eat, like, and then I just try to build back from there. What sort of creatures I can invent to scare everybody else.
Thank you. And Ryan, we've no idea what you're talking about.
What?
Jez, would you like to
Ryan,
go next?
we got to make sure it's clean for Ryan DeBrune.
What was the question again?
Stalling for time.
You won this one. You won this one. I forgot the question. It's where do you get monsters?
Oh my
aside
God.
from your childhood.
In the cupboard. Basically, I go through Eastern European monsters mostly because the people in like Poland and all around that area of the world have some seriously fucked up shit in their past.
For real.
Oh, yeah, it's fucking terrifying some of the shit they come up with. So I just plunder there basically with absolute shamelessness.
I like this hatception.
Jacob, over to you. How
Sorry,
do you create your
Jacob.
monsters?
Yeah, similar to these guys, looking at mythology, I have like a stack of like books of like different, like from D&D to World of Warcraft. Like I always pick up strategy guides when I see them, so I can sort of like comb through and see different monsters and then maybe combine 2 together. What I think is always really good when you have an OP main character is, I don't know, is having special unique abilities that are kind of OP in theory, but aren't like directly just like one note, I kill you, and there's like steps. And so like it has like a more of that manga shonen stuff. So there's almost like a puzzle in the battle. So you're like, how are they gonna beat me? Or how do I use my strategy to beat them? And that's where like the pleasure comes out. Maybe.
I'm just going to add in here quickly that if anybody is a trademark lawyer or anything like that, we are all completely innocent except for this guy here.
What?
He's the one who's admitted to all
No,
this shit.
you guys just
We
say
don't do
shamelessly. I said I combined mine. You guys are all like, no, this is not right.
I combine.
I'm innocent.
Oh yeah, say it on the stand, buddy. So Chris, what about you?
I'm a big fan of taking and tweaking. Like I fell in love with mythology in the 80s, mostly after getting the original DDs and Demigods book in like 1982 or something. And so I have numerous versions of characters or monsters in the realms that are twists on either classic D&D monsters or classic mythology monsters, which the original D&D monsters were tweaks of classic mythology. I mean, probably my favorite monster was in book 6 of the Realms. I introduced the Blarts, which are these little blue idiot, kind of vaguely goblin-like creatures based on the Zvarts from D&D, which nobody has ever used in the campaign because they're stupid. I mean, they're just these idiots that were somehow the clones of a lunatic, almost like egomaniacal loser god who just sent a bunch of them across the universe because every other god wanted to kill this guy because he stole something. I don't even remember what the hell he stole. So they made these little idiots. They're just buffoons. And they're not an obvious threat to the main character in book 6. They're just a complete irritation that distract him from the threat. Not purposely, just because they're fucking idiots. There's your swear, by the
He
way.
cursed. Sorry. So,
It's like victory.
oh god.
I mean, they're just morons. And somehow people were like, I love these guys. You have to bring them back. And I have a character called Steve LeBlark, who is, not only has he come back, he was kind of integral to the end of the series, that book. And he's going to spawn into several other series if I write them. So,
Amazing. I have
I
to
like
admit that.
I like taking existing monsters and making them stupid. I guess that's my answer.
So I was going to actually lie to you, Chris, and say that a question came in that only I could see of what is the worst expletive one of your characters has said just to make you curse. So thank you for saving me that trouble.
I can tell you that it's based on a friend of mine who actually said the expression "fucking fuck this shitty shit."
That sounds like a good
we were at a
friend.
theme park and hot pizza slapped on his chin, and he was all pissed off. He threw it on the ground and said, "Fucking fuck this shitty shit," and we just giggled and stopped laughing, and I put that in my book.
So it's terrifying when Christine says, answer this so carefully. And I'm like, it sounds like a threat is impending. So what about you, Michael?
Look how concerned Jez really is.
Mm-hmm. So we finally have his attention. So, Michael, how do you come up with your monsters?
Well, so I spent a lot of time I was in the army for 15 years, and I spent a lot of that time in the Middle East and North Africa. So I take a lot of mythology from that region, as well as like my Threads of Fate series is it's a cultivation series, so it has more of an Eastern influence. So I can take like Harmon talked about, like yokai demons and things like that. So I can take a lot of Eastern mythology and then like African and Middle Eastern mythology, and then of course there's the vampires and werewolves and normal stuff that is something that readers can instantly connect to that I don't have to explain. Like if I write, oh, the vampire dropped down from the ceiling to attack him, I don't need to take 15 minutes to explain what a vampire is. Everybody instantly knows what it is. Whereas if I have a monster named Paul that's a monoped, I have to explain that. The monoped is like a one-legged ass-kicking monster that always pops up at the most inopportune times, like off a cliff and stuff like that, which is exactly what Paul is.
That sounds exactly like Paul.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Can it kick itself?
I've met Paul. He can kick his own ass. He's pretty muscular. He could probably do it. He could probably do it with a backflip. I had dinner with that gentleman.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that.
Where the hell were we? Atlanta.
Sorry, Apparel. So, there was a BJ Wood asked a great question there.
I know BJ.
BJ.
What's your favorite ability or weapon that's OP from a character you've written? And we'll start off with Harmon again, if that's okay.
Well, I've written so many cool ass weapons, man. That I would definitely want to use just because I'm lazy. So Danzan in Pilgrim, he has a boomerang sword, and he throws it and it comes back to him, but never cuts it because it's like a magically enhanced sword. That's pretty cool. He also has a Blade of Darkness, which draws upon it increases the size of the blade based on shadows, and so it's like really, really useful at night. In darkness, it's not useful if it's bright. That's fun. So maybe one of his weapons would be cool if I could even use a sword.
Reminds me of that traumatic thing from Mad Max where the guy tries to catch the boomerang. Yep, I was a child watching that, and that is burned into my brain. So, Jez, yourself?
Probably from my Arise series, the nanites that he used as weapons, because he has made. So you split the nanites into two groups. There's weaponized and there's sort of usable. Essentially, weaponized can only form simple structures, but he can perform. He can create stabbing blades with them, hammers, axes, anything he wants. And the ability he generally sort of brings it out from his right fist to project a blade from that can then also just vanish away, but you can make it as long as you want, as short as you want. Punch dagger for when you're battering the crap out of somebody, a full-length sword, a whip.
Yeah.
So Green Lantern.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
It's basically Venom, but with less morals.
Okay, symbiote Green Lantern. Heard it here first. So we will go, eeny, meeny, miny, Eric.
It would either be the dwarf chair sword
Oh, heck yeah.
Classic.
or the god sword and shield combo.
The one they had for like 10
Happened to
seconds.
those things.
That's the one. Yeah, the one that got lost in book 1.
Yeah.
They both lasted about 30 seconds, didn't they?
Yeah. It's
Maybe
definitely
let yourself,
dwarf chair.
Jacob.
It's got to be dwarf chair.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite OP ability is the new main character in my newest series, Second Chance Swordsman. So Sam, he's traveled back in time by 5 years, so that's kind of an ability because he has the knowledge of the future. But then I also he sort of is his class is called Blood Knight. And he's kind of like a cross between the Reaver class in Dragon Age or like the Barbarian class in Diablo. And so the first ability he gets is that the more pain he gets, the more damage he can do. And so anything that sort of like starts off small but can actually exponentially grow really high, I think is really cool. And so it allows that's sort of a cool example of being super OP, but then also having to juggle. Am I going to kill myself by accident trying to get extra powerful?
So does he like stub his toe before a battle or like break up with his girlfriend and then be like, "Rah."
I haven't really explored emotional pain.
Yeah, it should be emotional and psychological pain.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just killing off everyone you love in your head, be like, single tear.
But yeah,
I need therapy.
Punch yourself in
Chris. Oh, sorry, Jacob, go on.
I just wanted to say, I feel like Zach is asking what my book was, unless he's talking about someone else's. So it was Second Chance Swordsman, which just came out today in audio.
Excellent.
And I got my copy.
Woo! I love you, Carmen.
Carmen's fine too.
Carmen.
Carmen San Diego. Where
Carmen,
are you?
no, Carmen Hooper. Carmen Hooper.
I do too, Ryan.
That was pretty
God.
much Dragon Con, wasn't it? She's drinking Claire.
Yeah, that was Jez at Dragon Con.
I regret
It's a
nothing.
literal bucket
Yes, sorry,
of
not
rock.
sorry. Thank you, Harmon. Thank you, Carmen Hooper. Chris, over to you.
The weapon that's been most fun to create that hasn't really paid off in the series yet is Griff's Spear. It's kind of upgradable in a way that he doesn't really understand yet. But kind of going off what Jacob said, if you think of abilities as weapons, which I totally do, Lex, who is the 1B character in the realms, in my opinion, and personally my favorite, has an ability called Analyze, which allows him to basically, for lack of a better term, see everybody else's character sheet, as well as hide his own to other people who have it, because it's a pretty rare skill, but some of the godlike ability characters have it. So he basically, because he's kind of a doofus, but it allows him to be almost Sherlock Holmes-ish in his deduction abilities and his ability to calculate strategies, because he could see the abilities and weaknesses of the opponents before they even know that. I mean, they just assume he's an idiot because he is. And that's going to really come into play in the last 2 books of the realms, and potentially in an offshoot with Lex if I decide to do it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, Michael, over to you.
I want to so badly. And it literally allows him to understand things that no person would ever be able to understand. So it's sort of like a godlike peer into almost behind the scenes, but he's got to deal with his own kind of everyman buffoonery to figure out the best way to do it. And that has been so far a strength, oddly, because I sort of leaned into the fact that he's a doofus. So doofus combined with infinite knowledge has been his power.
Fantastic.
So what's going on over there? If you want to,
They're saying doofus with infinite power, and everyone's pointing at Jacob. I don't understand.
No, they weren't.
Wait, this way. Wait, no, this way.
We've just started
This
playing
way.
Find
No.
the
Oh.
I gotta keep remembering this, but yeah.
It's figuring out the map. Okay, this guy's here. Okay, so
I know.
We're going
Damn.
that way. Or that way. Or that way. I put it on myself.
Yeah.
Opposite.
So hold on. What's the
Nobody's
question
naturally that
again?
cheerful.
What was the question?
What's your favorite type of cookie?
Snickerdoodle.
Chocolate
I'm a big
chip.
Snickerdoodle fan.
Oh,
It's
wonderful.
classic.
So I forgot the question. The question was, what is your favorite weapon for your OP character or something?
Oh, for mine,
Or something.
Jim.
Figure it out yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Like 10 minutes on the last panel for me is over, so fuck it. Whatever the fuck you want to talk about, go for it.
No, the one in my hand. Yes. No. The belt that Jim has this belt that has like 3,000 square feet of storage. So like he can steal like a whole wagon. Like there's a wagon. He's like, hey, you know what? Let me see. Yoink, yoink, and just takes it. And like it's super fun because then like later on, if he needs a wagon to like drop on somebody's head, he can just pull out the wagon and drop it on somebody's head.
That is fantastic. Thank
I'm
you very
halfway
much for
through
that,
book
Michael.
2, and why have you not used that yet? I would have been doing that to everybody.
Oh, fuck. Everyone ignore the comment from Geneva. So, sorry.
What did she say?
It's not important.
Brian.
So there's something I forgot. I thought I was done in 10 minutes, but it turns out I'm not. Yeah.
You're on the hook.
You're all super busy, and you can all go back to writing, because you're all prolific authors. So fuck off, okay? So thank you so much. Sorry, we're getting loads of questions, I think, somewhere. Brian has lost control. I never fucking had control. Lavelle, that just tells us more about your perception, okay?
The fact that you perceived he had control. Exactly.
Yeah.
The fact that you perceived he had control in the first place.
Perception is
Geneva is
reality.
the one of all control.
Yeah.
So
Yes, and I also perceive that Brian has a very sexy voice.
why, thank you.
Yeah.
So
He's also the author of Wild Cards on Royal Road.
So anyway, I
He's
suppose
on
because
Royal Road,
there's-
Wild Cards.
there's so many minutes left, and so few of you, or the inverse. So what we might do is we might do the outros and then fuck about for the rest, or take it seriously, whichever one's more fun.
What?
So
Narrate my book, Zeddy.
a
That's
groomer.
Groomer?
What is
Wild
this?
cards.
Was it?
But-
Welcome to my web, said the spider to the fly. It's just like, what is that? So, Michael, tell us about the stuff you're working on and stuff.
Well, the series that's on my Patreon right now, it's called Wandering Warrior, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Like I said earlier, it's a lot like if Judge Dredd was in a fantasy world. You know, it's a guy who has to go around and deliver justice to the downtrodden. Obviously, he's an overpowered main character, super fun. I've also got Threads of Fate Book 4 recently came out. Cenotaph of Bones, awesome band name for anybody looking out there. Cenotaph of Bones, pretty
Any
cool.
musical talent.
You're
Yep.
only saying that so you can like slap a fucking copyright down on it. Like, "Ha, nice try, bitch."
Yeah, but
Sorry.
I'd be like $10. Give me $10.
That sounds like Dinneman's metal band to me.
I'm already using Oedipus and the Mama's Boys.
That's goddamn. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and
Oh,
then,
it took me a minute.
hopefully next year you guys will be seeing a lot more Year of the Sword, Threads of Fate, and Wandering Warrior. I'm hoping to have 9 or 10 books out next year.
Chris.
I'll be wrapping up the Realms in the next 6-8 months, year, something like that, which is both exciting and overwhelming. Like I said, I've been working on this thing.
I love how you said that in the most deadpan voice. It is
Yes.
so exciting
Seriously,
and
like,
overwhelming.
Oedipus in the Mama's voice. Yeah.
Nightman and Page came from the concept of, I'm assuming most of you know the mythology of the once and future king that basically says that when the world or England or whatever needs King Arthur, he'll come back. Well, in this story, there was a mistake made on whose body ended up in King Arthur's tomb, and instead of King Arthur, we get a doofus. So it's sort of like, what if the Tick came back as King Arthur? That was the impetus of the series, kind of thing.
That sounds awesome.
It's pretty, I've been working. It's been in the works for like 20 years. It was basically supposed to be a cartoon years ago. It's got like I think it's gonna be awesome. I've laughed more writing this series than I've done anything since ever. And we've got a lot of stuff potentially for it. I think it's gonna be awesome and stupid and funny, which is kind of my wheelhouse. After that, probably address the Quintessence again, which didn't do as great as I'd hoped, but I still like that series. And then I've got 3 or 4 other more realms like an RPG series kind of in the back burner, but not sure which I'm going to tackle first. But yeah, my next year is basically going to be Realms and Nightmare Page, and then we'll figure out what happens after that.
Perfect. Eric, what about yourself?
I don't really have much going on right now. Just hanging out, making music with the Mama's Boys. That's about it.
So you're Oedipus?
We're all Oedipus. I've got. I'm working on. I don't even know what I'm working on anymore.
I need to analyze that for a while, but we'll do that later.
I think. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I got Good Guys is going to be coming out again soon. Then more of the bad guys. Then maybe the ugly guys.
What about the music guys?
You already have your cover.
Got a lot of cover model ideas right here.
Have you seen these idiots?
And I was thinking about writing a Muppets-based lit RPG. It's going to be called Muster of Puppets.
It'll be a bestseller, and that will kill me internally.
That's about all I got.
Jez.
Yeah. I think I need therapy to be fair after this. Yeah, no.
I'll be your therapist.
Can I sign up too?
Bad idea.
Yeah. I've
Prototype. Tell us about Prototype. Jesus Christ, Jez.
Oh yeah, thanks for the subtle hint, mate.
Prototype.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I did a deal with Yonder because I'm one of those sneaky fuckers that didn't tell nobody about shit. And the book Prototype is on Yonder. He gets points for that. So go on Yonder, have a read of Prototype, and if you have a look about Geneva, can you chuck on the link for me if you get the chance, please, into this chat? Basically, if you go on that link and follow it, once you've downloaded the app, you have to download the app first. Do the link and then put in the code Jez. You'll get some coins to be able to spend on the Yonder app if you want it. And if you don't, I don't really care. No.
My bank account does.
A glowing recommendation.
Glowing.
Yes.
Jacob.
Yeah. I'm working on Second Chance Swordsman 2. And that's
Second Chance Swordsman 2.
yeah.
Third chance.
Second Chance
Swordsman of so many chances.
And yeah, no, it's going really good. And the audiobook just came out for it today. And so I'm really excited about that. So yeah, and then maybe I got other ideas. We'll see. Always working hard.
I lost my hat.
By the way,
Want to get more books.
I love that you have 1,300 reviews on Second Chance Swordsman, and the unpublished author is throwing you shade, and that everyone. So
I've not seen that. I try to avoid the shade.
Oh no, it was me. It was me. Whoa! Welcome to the party. So, Harmon,
you throwing me shade.
We love you, really. Please don't murder us, Harmon.
Me. Yo, everybody. I'm Harmon Cooper. So I released this yesterday. It is called The World According to Dragons. It is part of the Sagaland Chronicles, my new series. It's doing really well. I'm dealing with shenanigans on the back end, but that doesn't matter to you. And thank you for all who have got it and have helped me push it to the top. And all the authors on here who have helped share it as well. Thank you. Next month, I have the Cowboy Necromancer novella coming. So that's this series, Cowboy Necromancer. In December, I have War Priest 4 coming, likely the final of that series. And then in January, my 75th book, I'm going to give away a bunch of shit and do some cool stuff for Pilgrim 7. This is the first book in that series. You can find me on www.harmoncooper.com. And I actually I wanted to shout out, we were talking about monsters. I did a deep dive on my blog about some of the monsters I use in The World According to Dragons and how I picked up some of them from art installations that I visited. And I have pictures of them on there. So if you go to harmoncooper.com and then the blog link is right at the top, you can check that out too.
Amazing.
He's so much better prepared than all the rest of us.
Oh, yeah, like,
yeah. What kind of head?
He went last. He went last. If we had gone the other way, that would have been shit. Absolutely,
it would have been shit.
Yeah.
I would have sneezed again, and it would have sounded like a fart. And come on.
And remember, most important of all, the important thing you have to remember from this entire panel is that at any minute this panel will finish and Brian's takeover begins.
No, let the moderator speak. What happens next is that Discord, where all of these people will be going and staying there.
We'll be in Facebook.
Bother him. Come on, bother
I think
him.
The host
Jacob,
has
you
muted
have
my mic. The host
Jacob
muted
has
my mic.
permission to act with me. You have permission to act with me.
I can't.
I've got to go to a yoga class.
I can't get my finger to go where I want it to point.
I can't either. I'm always like,
You can't get your
up is
finger to go where you
easy.
want. Is it touching people inappropriately? Is it?
Oh my god. Sorry.
Is this going to be your defensive quarter?
I can't get my finger to go where it wanted to go. People, read this book, and thank you for those who have already read it.
And yes, this will be on YouTube for Facebook user that asked.
Oh, why? Why?
Yeah.
No.
We didn't ask for this.
Okay. You know, we're just cutting into his takeover time.
And he knows it
What
too.
are we doing? Okay. Bye, everybody. We can give
Bye.
time if we're all on here.
Thank you. Have fun.
Come to my
storming the
birthday
castle.
party.